Anita, aren't you supposed to be watching?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Mom, we already finished everything.
No, we didn't.
Well, we have one.
God, stop with this.
The only thing we have left is Battle of the Impact of it.
There's nothing on the back.
No, there wasn't. We already finished that. Everything of it. Because there was all, well, who was involved, what happened or done, where did it take place, when was it and why is it significant, why was it important to the revolutionary effect, well, how did it impact the war, and extra info. And that's it. So we can start. So all we need is just to add a couple more things to impact because we only have one that I just did.
You want to share it with me?
I can't. You have to get it up on your own because it doesn't work.
Okay. Junk is that?
I don't know.
One of those can always grab.
That's my leg.
Do I go to Jennifer or Melina?
Melina. Sign in. Oh, it's gonna beat my butt. Oh. Take 2, 5. Here, then. And then.
What was that?
I don't know.
You're in Dennis's now.
What? Wait, I know what to do.
Oh no, in Dennis right
Oh, right. Drive? Yeah, we do.
Oh, no, we're not, we have to do the extra info. I just cut and paste a bunch of stuff. So, it impacted the war because it made the Hessians surrender, which was a big win for America. Hey, dude, what are you typing?
I don't know.
Not because the Americans had 2,400 soldiers and they had 14, but because the Americans had defeated a well-trained, because the Americans go over here. See where it's tapped?
Rachel's gonna get on it.
Okay.
I am. You are on it? Yeah. Fun.
A well-trained European fighting force. You want to call them fighting force? You want to call them an army? They were really an army though.
Army, fighting
But they weren't.
force, 45.
They were more of, because they weren't part of the army as like, they weren't British soldiers. They were just paid mercenaries. Okay?
Right, forgot about that.
I need Wi-Fi.
Oh, Mom, she needs Wi-Fi.
It's right there on the box. The win improved morale. The victory, we should call it, right?
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
No.
Why? 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 Why?
So all this victory did was the most important thing is at a time when morale or the soldiers' attitude was at its very, very lowest.
Mm.
They had when they had fought this battle, they had not the proper clothes. Some of them had no shoes. They had wrapped their feet up in cloth. They had I want you to get the lights, okay? Everyone's been blowing off the lights for days now. Did you and Dennis go downstairs and get some lights and do it without arguing?
I don't think it's gonna be possible.
So the victory, not only did it improve the morale amongst the soldiers, but they were able to get supplies, which they needed really bad, and food, because when they took over Trenton, it was a garrison that the Hessians were at, and so there was food and there was ammunition there. So there were guns, muskets, cannons, stuff like that, which they took. We're not gonna get into, they took 1,000 soldiers hostage, which created a problem because they wanted to treat them well and humanely. Except with treating them humanely meant you had to feed them and other stuff, but that created a problem with food and otherwise, but that doesn't really matter here. So when I say this victory, do you see where I'm at?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe later.
What are you doing, huh?
I'm gonna get rid of Cortana.
Cortana.
See where I'm at right here?
Mm-hmm.
This victory, it impacted the war because it made the Hessians surrender, which was a big win for America because the Americans had defeated a well-trained European fighting force with very little resistance, right? Do you know what that means? They barely fought back. They were so surprised. They thought the Americans were first too tired, exhausted, drunk from partying, because it was Christmas time. So the Hessians never anticipated it, even though they did get warning. So the colonel that was in charge of the Hessians got a piece of paper that said the Americans are coming, and he ignored it.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna learn about that.
The victory improved morale for the Americans. The victory at Trenton was considered a turning point in the Revolutionary War. During the summer of 1776, the Continental Army was in danger of being totally defeated because they had lost so many battles and had experienced so many setbacks. How about I say this? After suffering many setbacks and how about that? Setback. Oops. All right. Anything else we want to say? Those are the main reasons. The Americans were also able to get much.
Goodness, if I help you bring the lights up, where are my Takis?
yes, much needed, if they're here, we didn't, I don't know, we have to make sure that
No,
Can't
he
guarantee
doesn't
it.
need a stockies.
much needed supplies,
She said it was okay.
There's no one there.
like
Tennis.
cannons,
Mom
muskets,
said it was okay.
what else? I think I say it up. Higher here. Swords and bayonets.
Let's go play Xbox then.
No, I need lights.
No, I don't get my talkies, so I don't get lights.
It's like the only way you need to make him do stuff.
Mhm. George Washington, regained some, Congress was thinking he was a loser general. And they weren't willing to give him any more troops or re-enlistments. But this victory changed their minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
New recruit. This victory helped change Congress's mind about George Washington. For the, what do you wanna say about, for the positive, or for the good, or for the,
Mm.
what you wanna say? This victory helped change Congress's mind about George Washington for the good,
Mm-hmm.
and he was able to get new recruits, 'cause that's what they needed. I think that's it. Is that the last one? Oh no, we have to do miscellaneous. So down here, I cut and paste a bunch of, I think this down here is like, is this like fun facts? Other extra
yeah.
information you might have found out about, so I cut and paste a bunch of stuff from a bunch, we both did, from a bunch of different websites, but I just cut the whole thing, cause I didn't wanna like go back and forth between the document.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can pick, let me get some bullets here. So here's some information I found on a website. Hessian troops at the Battle of Trenton. The British government was unable to recruit sufficient British troops to fight the Revolutionary War. There was a lot of sympathy in Britain for the American cause, and many considered the Revolutionary War to be a proxy war, which means like far away, like they were fighting it in another country across the ocean between privileged British establishment and ordinary British citizens. To make up the shortfall in troops, the British government paid subsidies to the German princelings to provide the troops it needed, and so they were called Hessians because of what part of the country they were from.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they were just mercenaries. They were well disciplined and much better behaved than British troops. Many settled in the United States once the war was over. Isn't that funny? That they fought against, because you know what? Because they don't care. Does that make sense? When I say that they didn't care? Because they go and fight for whoever pays them the most money. So they don't care about the cause. They just care about the pay. So if you guys were fighting against each other, you were the Melina country and you were the Rachel country, and I'm a Hessian, and Melina says, God, I don't have enough troops to fight against Rachel, I'm losing and everything, or
I would call you.
you would call
I'd pay
me,
you.
and you'd pay me, and you'd say, I wouldn't even care what you were fighting for. Could be bad, it could be good, it could be freedom, it could be slavery. What do I care? I'm getting paid.
That's the only thing they wanted, right?
Right, so they fight for whatever cause they're paid to fight for. But they liked the United States so much, they ended up staying. So maybe they didn't feel so much loyalty towards the British, but then maybe they didn't feel like going back either, and they were already here, you know, and saw opportunity. So I thought there was a little fun facts in there, we can pick a couple out of there. Washington's plan was to cross the Delaware River at 3 points. I mean, you don't have to use all of this. The first by a force commanded by whoever this guy is, Lieutenant Colonel Cadwalader, with the Rhode Island regiments and Pennsylvanians, Delaware militia, 2 guns. Second force under Brigadier Ewing. I think Ewing ended up fighting in the Civil War. I remember that name. And third commanded by himself, which would cross the river above Trenton and attack the Hessians in town. Washington had, as his subordinates, so he had some generals underneath him, General Greene and General Sullivan,
Major.
whatever, major generals. They're generals, they're just a little bit lower down. So what happened is those two other guys, Cadwalader and the other guy, Ewing, they never made it to whatever the plan was for them to attack, they never made it. In his force, Washington led 2,400 men from all over the place. So, on the 25th, they paraded. Isn't that funny? So they march, and they like prance around with the flag and stuff before they go to war.
What color
Whatever, I don't care.
is it green, I think?
I don't want all green. Sorry. Plug them in, they look multi. All green.
Any color. I
I
don't
know.
want green.
All green is gross. Washington's force paraded in the afternoon of the 25th, set off for the Delaware, where they embarked on a flotilla of the characteristic Delaware River boats. That's the one you see in the picture.
Except
You
they
know,
got
we're
the
standing
famous
like
painting.
this, except that painting is not accurate, because the boat's not big enough to carry all those people and to carry all the
They did.
equipment that they would have. And there's no way that George Washington could have stood like that
Without falling.
without falling over in the stormy weather that they were having. So a lot of that was just like embellished for pride purposes. So, here's this, Ewing and whatever his name is, failed to make the crossing and took no part in the attack. They're probably sorry that they did, or their families are. It was a cold, dark night. The river was running with flowing ice. At 11 p.m., a heavy snowstorm broke. Washington's force did not reach the east bank until around 3 a.m. on the 26th. His soldiers were badly clothed. Many didn't have shoes. After landing in New Jersey, Washington's men marched to Trenton, some of them leaving traces of blood in the snow. And then we talk about the uniform. This is just like what they had, what they looked like. The 2 regiments of British Light Dragoons that served in America, the 16th and the 17th, wore red coats and leather-crested helmets. The Hessian infantry wore blue coats and retained their Prussian-style grenadier, that's that big tall cap, Amelia, that you saw, with brass front plate. The Americans dressed as best that they could. As the war progressed, regular infantry regiments of the Continental Army wore blue uniform coats, but the militia continued in rough clothing, which means whatever they could find. The clothes that they had when they left their house. That's why you see a lot of them are just wearing like their colonial peasant shirts and their colonial pants and boots and not anything fancy. The Americans dressed as best they could, blah, 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 we already said that. Both sides were armed with muskets, bayonets, and cannons of small caliber, so small, like, well, not rifles necessarily, well, yeah. And this is the quote from George Washington: "Discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable and procures success to the weak and esteem to all." I don't know if he said that before they went into battle, but it was kind of cool. Alright, so pick and choose which fun facts that you want to include, because here it doesn't matter. whatever you wanna put in there. Or if you guys have other stuff from your book you wanna put in there too, doesn't matter. This is just what I got off the internet.
There was like no books with the Battle of Trenton on them.
I still have the pictures that we took.
You do?
Yeah.
Fun. Very fun. Funny, fun, fun.
Fun.
Fun, fun, fun.
Oh, I broke something.
Yeah, you did, Mom. Fun, fun, fun. Yeah.
Alright, what do you want your first fun fact to be?
That.
You know where the word Hessian comes from? I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems interesting, I guess. The name Hessian, right? Or Hessians describes the troops, the trops, the British, you tell me what to say, paid to fight, right? In the
Revo.
Come on, you know, I don't like that Google Docs doesn't correct your dumb mistakes like that. Because they could not recruit enough British troops. What's wrong, Nina?
No, it's something that our friend does.
She's a
Freddie
fight.
slaps his leg. And we don't know
That's what
why.
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change this. Hessians are
Dead.
dead.
Oh, you're actually putting that? Oh.
Are the German, right? Troops the British paid to fight in the Revolutionary War because they could not recruit enough British troops to fight. Right? They were called Hessians because they came from the area of Germany called Hesse.
Hessens. The garrisons.
There was a lot of sympathy in Britain for the colonists. Did you think that that would actually be a thing, that there was a lot of sympathy in Britain for the colonists?
No.
I wouldn't have thought that either.
What are you guys talking about?
Something I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
You don't know what you guys are talking about?
I do. Did you believe?
Are you typing, Melina?
I'm looking at it.
Hessians are German troops the British paid to fight in the Revolutionary War because they could not recruit enough British troops to fight. They were called Hessians because they came from the area of Germany called whatever, Hesse Castle. Hessian troops were much more well-disciplined and well-behaved than British troops, so it was a surprise when they were defeated. There was a lot of sympathy in Britain for the colonists. Many British thought this was a war.
I don't know.
What's wrong?
Oh, it was like a black spot on the donut.
Well, there was some chocolate ones mashed in there
Yeah.
too.
Oh. Yeah, did you have to take a bite of that one to confirm that that's chocolate?
Yes.
Every day.
Maybe not. Alright, I'm gonna take all this out. You watching, Zanina? Delete.
Delete? Why are you deleting?
So we're gonna call this.
Why are you deleting that? What has it ever done to you?
I don't know.
I'm sure I forgot something. Rachel, what did you swab in science?
A water fountain.
Freddie did too. He stuck it in there where the water comes out.
You know that like cleaner thing that the janitor uses?
So what?
The like this big blue like machine that he sits on and he like goes around and he cleans the floors.
Oh, that?
Yes, Kyra swapped that. It was like
Washington. Anything interesting? You kind of know all
30
this
minutes.
already. All this look like-
Dennis! Hey, Dennis. Dennis.
No.
Look.
No.
Look.